Alright, what is up guys? It has been a minute. I'm finally done with finals, so I am good for a month and a half. But today, or tonight I should say, I'm going to be updating you on a few things. First, I'm actually going to be going to LA tomorrow, and for tonight, I do want to say that my friend here, KZ, he finally got his WRX bagged. So me and him worked on it for a good 3 to 4 days in his garage, and it's finally done. I'm gonna go over just briefly what the setup and lines and how they're routed and everything, just so you guys have an idea if you guys are trying to bag your VA as well. So here we go. Okay, so how I'm gonna do this and explain to you guys is I'm gonna be explaining from the front end of the car all the way back, and that'll get down to the lines that are underneath the trim and whatnot. But starting with the battery for power, so you have red and black, and it's self-explanatory. You're gonna plug the red pretty much to the positive terminal, and then the black for ground to the black terminal. And then once you have that, you're gonna have all your harness running through your fender liner, and that just comes down to taking off your fender liner inside here, and kind of there actually is already another harness in there. So what I did was just kind of loop it together, or like join it within the same path, and from there you're gonna have to like pass the firewall through grommet, and that's gonna be underneath your dash, which is the footwell. So coming here, oh well, Jackie is here. Oh hey. What you're gonna do is, I apologize there's no light, but what you're gonna do is route the pink wire, which is like your ignition cable, to have the bags power up each time you start the car. And that's gonna be right, focus, right there. So where it says 10, that's actually your cigarette lighter fuse. And what I did is just kind of hardwire it and plug it right into the fuse. So what it does is each time you start the car, the power to the controller, the management, and everything will turn on each time the car is on, or battery. So I got that routed, and you're going to be pretty much plugging it underneath like all of this. You see this shiny part right here of the car, the fender, or not the fender, but like the interior trim. So all underneath there is actually your original OEM like harness of the car, and then all I did was route the lines and the harness of the bags together. So pretty much what you're gonna take off is this piece right here, this middle piece for the door, and then the last piece, which is I believe the B pillar. So this plastic piece right here for the seatbelt. Same thing on the other side of the passenger, is like exact same setup and process. And then just coming all the way back here for the back seat, you're gonna obviously have this down, and then you're gonna have the back, or pretty much the butt pillow, whatever, like gone. You're gonna remove it, and you have access to your fuel pump and everything. But the other trim you're gonna be taking out is this as well. So like I said, the B pillar, this piece right here, and you actually don't need to take this part out. I actually learned it from KZ's car, because for my car I actually took it out and then I found out it was unnecessary, which is this piece right here. So now you have the harness, which is this loom right here you see, and all it is really just 3 wires when it comes down to it. So you have, like I said, your red, your black, and then your pink wire, which is all the way back there earlier. I showed you guys. And then you have your lines. So lines is all up, like it's all personal preference how you guys want to route it, and it all depends on your setup of your trunk. So obviously you have the air tank here, you got the compressor right there, and you have the management right there. So I'll do another view for you guys on the back so you guys have a better idea. But this is the setup. So tank, management, compressor, and then all the bundle of wires is just kind of in the back. So I think that's temporary. He might fix that later, but for now, for the car to be able to drive and whatnot, this is how it is. And then this is a really nice like wood mahogany style like trunk setup. I kind of want to do this for my own car as well, but as a temporary, this is pretty good. It's actually, when you guys go through installing bags, it's actually not that bad. You just have to be very careful of each process and make sure you don't puncture any sort of wires or like airlines, especially airlines, because that is really critical for pressure in each bag. So one more thing I actually want to cover is when you're wiring your compressor to your harness, your wiring harness, what we used actually is right here, is a like a butt connector, they say. And all you do is crimp the black wire from the compressor to the black wire of the harness, and that way vice versa with the red wires, that's how you power it. So like I said, wiring, actual electrical work itself is not that bad. It's pretty simple. It's just a matter of plugging stuff together. And then you have your water trap, because condensation will build in the tank. It really depends on the atmosphere and the condition of the weather that you're at or where you live at. Recommended, they say, at least once a month to drain your tank. So luckily this has a water, so this is the water trap I was saying, and there's actually a valve right here, this thing, that you could just press on it and air will release. It's pretty much like a valve on a tire. You just press on it and air will like come out. So that's just the basic setup of how, like, the process of rerouting all the wires and airlines and stuff. This is not, by no means, this is not an instructional video, because I know I missed out on a lot of details, but that's just a general like gist of what's going on and what I did for this car as well as my car. If you guys have any more questions, just please go ahead and comment down below, and I will try my best to get back to you guys and comment and answer any questions. But the last thing I do want to cover before I end this video is just the functions on the controller itself, and then the controls that are pretty much the same on, I believe it's called AirLift Performance 3. It's an app that you can get both on iOS and Android as well. So I'm just real quickly gonna grab the keys and then power it on and just show you guys what each function briefly does. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is turn on the battery. I don't need to start the car, but just so I can power the controller and then the management. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the battery on. And now what will happen is I'm already actually on ride height, and the max this tank can actually handle is gonna actually be around like 150. I think you can push it to 160, but that's just so you can have more air and doesn't have to keep compressing air into the tank. But this is actually already on ride height, so this is an average, I would say, like two finger length gap from the tire to the fender. That's the standard 2.5 what people usually like to set, which is around the 60s to 70s on the PSI. And pretty much to access the menu, you're gonna have to press the airlift and then the top at the same time, and it'll go to this screen. So you can just play with it, see what it does, but it's pretty much self-explanatory, like display operation, to set up whether you want the car to rise or not when you turn the key over. That's actually, it's really convenient for that option, and then calibration as well. So one thing I forgot to mention, this is a 3P system. This is not a 3H. What 3H is pretty much, one, it's more money. Two, it's a sensor that you pretty much set up in each bag, and that way it's like a, I believe, a auto leveling sensor. So there's more details in it. I kind of like forgot what it was, but I think 3P is honestly good enough for what you're just trying to accomplish, which is just adjusting height and whatnot. But to go back to what I was saying, is this middle button is going to be your ride height. So the top, the middle, and the bottom, you're just going to be double tapping twice, and it'll get to the preset height that you want. So like if I press this once, it'll show the numbers of what is set already, which is 80, 80, 95, and 95. So front driver, front passenger, rear driver, rear passenger. And then this is I use this mainly just for like speed bumps, so you press it like twice to get it to that level. And then twice for this, which is 65, 65, 75, 75. And then this, some people like to run this as a ride height as well, like a lower ride height, like maybe 1 finger length of a gap. That's really up to you, as personal preference. For my car, I did this as you double tap it and it'll just air out completely. So that's when it comes down to these two. So when you press this last button, when you hold it, it'll just fully air out based off of how long you hold the button for. And then the opposite with this is it'll fully air up based on how long you hold it for. So pretty easy, just need to remember what all this middle is for. All this is pretty much for all 4 bags. And then when you come down to each and individual ones, it is really hard to see, but you can see how there's like a small bump, and that's pretty much for the airing down, and a small bump right there is to air up, and that is for your passenger rear. So that's what all of these are for. Like there's 2 there, 2 there, and then 2 there and 2 there, and then there's nothing on the sides. So really easy if you want to just go manual and adjust each personal bag. But right now, just to show you guys one of the preset functions, I'm gonna go ahead and press this twice. You will see like the numbers decrease, and what that means is it's just airing out. It's just going all to 0. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it real quick. So when it goes to 0, that's when you can pretty much shut your car off. Okay, so once I have the car back on, whether it's on battery or on, when the car cranks over, it'll power up, and it'll go from 0 all the way to your preset ride height, which is this button, AirLift Performance. So it's really easy. I'm just gonna go ahead and start the car on, and then you guys will see what I'm talking about. So it powers up, goes to ride height, and then that sound that you hear is the compressor. So that compressor is generating air into the tank, and that's why this number right here is increasing. So the reason why it decreased is because it had to use air from the tank to go into each bag to the preset ride height. So now since it used air, the compressor is generating air back into the tank to bring this back to like 145, 150, around there. And then the compressor will shut off. And that's the sound you're hearing right now, is the compressor kicking on, which is this thing. So that pretty much is generating air into the tank right there. So once this reaches 150, this will stop. So you guys will see in a minute. See, and then it just turned off. So that's what it means, is that it's at 150 psi. But that's pretty much the general idea of bags, guys. The whole process and setup of installing it, rerouting, doing whatever setup you want in the trunk. But in terms of stiffness and bouncy, people complain that it's really annoying sometimes for daily driving because of how bouncy it is. It honestly depends on the car, and it depends on the bags itself. It's just depending on how much pressure you do in each bag to make it either really stiff or really bouncy. So keep in mind, when there's more pressure in the bag, as it's getting higher, it's going to make the car more bouncy on when you're driving it. So around, I believe, 70 or 75 and up, it's going to make the car super bouncy when you're driving. But average is like around 60, or I'd say 55, 60 for ride height, and that's actually perfect. The car's not too bouncy, it's stiff, kind of sometimes feels like a coilover, depending on the spring rate of the coilovers, but that's just pretty much the general like feel, is really close to coils. So like I said, if you have any more questions, just go ahead and comment down below. I'm gonna be kind of busy next week. Like I said, I'm gonna be working on RX-7, so just go ahead and comment. I will try my best to answer them. And otherwise, I will catch you guys later, and I will keep you guys updated as always. See ya.